Welcome to Control, Delete, and Heal, the space where we control the narrative, delete the stigma, and heal our minds. With our host, VL Henry, where the conversation is about authenticity, courage, and living fully.
I'd like to start off by both of you, starting with Lillian, then Corinne, do a brief introduction.
Okay, my name is Lillian Munch. I'm 77 years old. Had been living as someone else up until 2016. And after going through a suicide attempt, I finally sought out a therapist who helped me immensely. And if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you today. I always look upon it as her literally saving my life. But since that time, I've fully transitioned. Excuse me. I serve on, I'm a member of a local support group, Trans Central Pennsylvania. I had been a member at one time of Corinne's group in the Lehigh Valley, but it's a little far for me to maintain to come in for meetings and stuff. I may have been into one or two, but I do go to her summer picnic when she has those every year. So, at any rate, since my transition, I feel so much better about myself. The hormone therapy that I'm undertaking has made such a big difference in my life. Prior to that, I'd been an angry person, angry at everything. And with going on the hormone therapy, that's all changed. And it's made a big difference in my life. And I appreciate the offer to be here. Like I said, I'm a member of Trans Central PA, but I'm also been elected to a few other groups here in the Harrisburg area and things that I participate in. And that basically sums up who and what I am at the moment. I do. You had mentioned that you want to be talking about the health issues and depression and things like that. And I have had to deal with depression for quite a few years. And it kind of really hit home to me a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if we'll get into that or not at this point, but I understand people dealing with depression and how it affects their lives, particularly those who are transgender. So with that, I'll pass the baton to Corinne and let her introduce herself.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Lillian.
Lillian. So my name is Corinne Goodwin. My pronouns are she and they. I am the executive director and founder of Eastern Pennsylvania Trans Equity Project. So we are a transgender serving nonprofit. We work across 42 counties in Eastern and Central Pennsylvania. We operate 24 different monthly peer-led support groups for trans folks, non-binary folks, their family members, people in recovery, two-spirit people. We have a trans littles play date program that we run 6 times a year. We do direct financial assistance for people in need. One of the things that a lot of people don't necessarily realize is that the poverty rate in the trans community is well in excess of 50%. And so, we help people with food and rent and utilities because you can't go to work, you can't go to school if you don't have food in your belly and a roof over your head and electricity to charge your devices. We do lots of work in advocacy and education all across the state. I was just at an event earlier today where we were speaking with a group of therapists getting their additional credit hours in and things like that. So, I can relate a lot to what Lillian says, around, living that, and I don't think of it as living a lie necessarily,
Mm.
over the decades. I mean, I was who I was, right? And that person helped form who I am today. Um, but certainly, people go through their struggles, and trans people go through their struggles with understanding who they are in this world and how you move through this world. But I think that one of the things that happened is I moved through and continue to move through my uh, life as a transgender individual is that um, the amount of brain power and emotional angst that I used to have to put against, living a life that I wasn't particularly suited for. Going to work every day and putting on the dude suit, so to speak, and code switching. I am now able to take all that effort, intellectual energy, physical energy, and emotional energy, and put it towards, paying it forward and hopefully doing a little bit of good in this world.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying too, Corinne,
Wow.
and I just wish that I would have had the opportunity uh, to transition at a younger age. Um, I too don't look upon it as living a lie up until I transitioned, but I do look upon it as doing what I had to do to stay alive.
Right.
Um,
That
and
lets me segue. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, Lillian,
no,
because
no,
I
no, that's
I
all.
could sit here and listen to you guys for probably hours and not get anything.
Yeah.
I again, I want to thank you. My one question, and you both kind of answered it, but I'd like to pose it again. How do you define yourself beyond the labels, both professionally and personally?
So if I'll start off. So, I go out and do a lot of training. Lily and I are going to be at a conference here in another week, and I'm doing 6 presentations in 2 days because I don't know, I'm a masochist, I guess. But often when I'm going out and speaking to medical students or others, I kind of start off with a slide in my PowerPoint, and it's titled "About Me." And I always make the joke, I always start with that because I'm the one talking, therefore I'm the most important person in the room. But it's a picture of myself, my wife, and my kid, right? And I kind of put all my adjectives out there, right? So I'm a spouse, I'm a parent, I'm a business owner, I am a nonprofit leader. My kid works on Broadway, so I am a theater parent. I have a huge model railroad that I've spent way too much money on over the decades. I like to ride my bike in the summers when it's nice and warm. I love to cook. It's how I get my therapy. I like to drink scotch. Um, so there's lots of adjectives that describe me, and trans is just one of them, right? And I think that a lot of people like, and even and truthfully in our community, especially when you're kind of going through your, initial rounds of transition, like, they think we think about being trans all the time, and I certainly do not, right? When I'm making pie or whatever I'm doing. I was making biscotti the other day, right? That's what I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about I'm not thinking myself as a trans person making biscotti. I am just, making sure that I've got those, pistachios and cranberries chopped up appropriately so that I don't choke anybody.
Yeah.
Making me hungry. Go ahead, Lillian.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think of myself as being a transgender woman. I think of myself as being a woman. Um, and whenever someone mentions or calls me a transgender woman, I try to correct them because I feel like I've always been a woman. It's just the fact that I had to transition to become that woman. And I too have, I mean, I always look at my life as being one of a master of all trades or a jack of all trades, master of none. I'll try and do just about anything. Um, I do wood carving. I've done stained glass work. I've done hot glass work. Um, I I have several 3D printers that I enjoy using. Um, I I have my amateur radio license. Uh, there's there's things that just sort of sometimes just sort of pop into my head that I think, well, that sounds interesting. Let me try that. But again, I don't think of myself as being a trans woman doing those things. I think of myself as a woman, and I'm happy to enjoy these hobbies, if you will, these other pastimes. Um, so I'm really not sure how more to define myself other than, like I said, that I look upon myself as being a woman who happens to enjoy whatever. And I'll try just about anything. One of the things that's on my bucket list, and I don't know if I'll get a chance to do it, is to go uh, sky jumping. I want to parachute out of an airplane. I had taken I had taken flying lessons several years ago and was about this close to getting my private pilot certificate. Unfortunately, I had the misfortune to crash my airplane. But at any rate, that's a whole nother story. But like I said, I love flying. I love that was another thing I do. Fly radio controlled airplanes.
Well, you
I
know what?
belong.
Uh, it sounds like I could have a whole hour individually with you, you guys.
Yeah,
You know what? So
I
let me, and I appreciate it. And I had, you kind of both of you said something that made me pause. Um, you know, it's just like, I'm lesbian. I'm not like, oh, what does a lesbian woman like to eat? I'm just me.
yeah,
And I think we, even in our labels, we we like to label things. It seems like in our, well, what are you? In order for someone to understand you, well, I always tell everyone that I'm so many things, and I don't allow anyone to put a period after my name. But
correct.
my next question, and it's and I think you guys kind of touched on it, you two ladies. It says, what is the misconception about the transgender professionals that you wish would disappear? What do you feel like a lot of misconceptions that like when you like Corinne, you seem like you travel all over, and you did too. But when you step into a boardroom or whatever, what like for me, for example, I worked at FedEx for almost 30 years, and when I it was all men, and I would give, I thought, the best presentation, and then I would say, hey, is there any questions? And they would say, I like your suit. And it was like,
Hmm.
wow, they're only looking, so it's like,
Yeah.
like, what about questions about what I have to say? So my question to both of you ladies are, what are some of the misconceptions that you'd like to say? Listen, who'd like to start out?
So I think that, it kind of gets back to we've been dancing around this topic this whole conversation so far, right? But is that, so my personal background is that I was in the retail business for many years. I ran hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of retail locations, had thousands of team members working for me. I transitioned and went into the telecommunications industry and brought two telecommunications providers to market and 50,000 points of distribution, right? I then started my own consulting firm and did training and development work for companies big and small across the Western Hemisphere and Europe. And when I'm doing that work, I'm not thinking about being trans. I'm thinking about like, so if I'm in the widget business, I'm trying to figure out how to sell more widgets or how to manufacture more widgets, right? And so it isn't about being trans. It isn't about, for a person of color. It isn't about the color of their skin, right? It's about, are you making more widgets, right? And that's what we're kind of focused on, right? When Lillian is working on, her 3D printing, that's what she is focused on and doing the best job that she can on those things. And that where being trans comes into play in it is that living authentically allows me to do those things more effectively.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, and see, and that's what I say. I worked for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for over 33 years, and in those 33 years, it was all as my alternate self. Um, I never had the opportunity to present as who I was, and I really kind of not I don't resent that, but it it makes me wonder just how I would have been received and what I if I would have been able to make the same difference as a woman that I think I did um, in my alternate life. Um, I worked for the Public Utility Commission. We regulated electric, telephone, gas, water companies, and I worked on all those types of things, primarily as it applies to rate increases. I worked for the chairman of the Public Utility Commission for 8 years. I was his on his personal staff. Um, and I ended up, when I retired, I was a deputy director at the PUC, where we were the ones who wrote the final orders of the commission. The commission would make a decision on maybe a rate case or whatever it happened to be. The department or the bureau that I worked for, we're the ones who wrote the final orders, and those became legal orders.
So Lillian,
Um,
excuse me for interrupting you.
sure,
I don't want to keep doing that. So basically, what you and Corinne are telling me is the transgender is such a small nugget of
it
what
is.
you ladies are doing that that needs to be just put out there. Listen, I'm not thinking when I'm doing these meetings or presentation, the last thing on my mind is like, oh, how do I do this as a transgender? You're not thinking that. And
No,
I think that needs to be out there because I also think that the current political climate and it affects people from the outside looking in more than the people on the inside looking out
mhm.
on their obsessiveness. So one of my questions is, how do you think the current climate affects the day-to-day professional life? Does it affect it? Does it not affect it? Or do you just keep it moving and keep it 100?
From my personal perspective, I don't think and it's difficult for me to say since I'm retired. I'm not in the workforce at the moment. But that being said, just being day to day, I think one of the things that upsets me the most is a lot of people think that we choose to be or chose to be who we are, that it's somehow something that we just woke up some morning and said, "Oh, I think I'll be transgender." And it's not about that. It never has been about that. And I don't know. I would have liked, like I said earlier, I would have liked to have been able to be myself in the workforce and see how people would have reacted to me then. Right now, in my day to day life, the people I run into, um, I have no problem. I was just interviewed 2 days ago by our local ABC television station for a report that the head reporter was doing on gas prices. And I happened to make a comment online to him, and he got in touch with me and asked me if I would do an interview with him, which I happily did. And the fact that I was transgender never came up in that discussion, never entered into anything that we talked about. He treated me as a woman with an opinion. And that's the way I like to think of things and like to think of myself. I'm just a woman who has ideas, who has thoughts, and would like to get those thoughts across and help people understand those thoughts and not question whether I'm transgender or not. That does not enter into the equation at all.
So, Corinne, you're out. Let me not assume, but I'm thinking just by your energy, you're a mover and shaker. You're out there.
Well, I
Okay.
shake. I don't know if I'm moving, but
How does if
I
it
shake a lot, but I don't.
me too. How does the question I just asked, the current climate? I
yeah.
mean,
So I'm gonna come at it.
do you run across something that's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna come at it from a different direction than Lillian, and that so it needs to be recognized that you're talking to two mature white women, right? And started my transition in my mid to late 40s. I had good jobs and had been able to make money, and my kid was graduated from college. My wife had a good job. There's a whole lot of privilege in that. If you're a 20-year-old trans black lower class uninsured unemployed transgender person, you got a whole lot stacked against you. And I think that we need to acknowledge that intersectionality plays a huge role in the experience of transgender people, right? So, I mentioned earlier that poverty is a significant issue. Over 30% of transgender people have been homeless and on the street at some point in their life. The unemployment rate for transgender people is 4 times the national average. It's running at over 16% right now. We need to talk about that 50% of us have had negative experiences in the healthcare system, that we are 4 times more likely to be uninsured, right? That 27% of us go to bed hungry at night. So a lot of the work that we do organizationally is to try to combat and forestall a lot of that work. I was just on a call earlier today with advocates across the state of Pennsylvania trying to work on some legislative issues. The fact of the matter is that transgender people, especially right now, are really easy targets. And if you come from a challenging background where you are not supported by your family, 57% of transgender people have been rejected by immediate family, right? And so, you know, you are in a situation where the odds are stacked against you, right? If you're a transgender person and you haven't been able to change your name, I mean, you could be as ravishingly beautiful as I am, right? But
You
if
are.
you have to walk into a job and apply for a job using the name, John Doe, but you look like a Jane Doe, or vice versa, you've just outed yourself as a transgender individual, and you are very likely to face discrimination in employment.
I just the other day I got up and one part of my uh, what I do is I meditate and I'm trying to practice Buddhism. And then after I do all that, I happen to go onto LinkedIn because I have this fictitious diary where I play this woman that enters different stuff. Well, one of my friends, Brandon, I call him Brandon X. He's a trans man. Said the most heartbreaking um, excerpt in LinkedIn. He's 20 something. He said he lives in the state of Arkansas and today he has to turn over his driver's license. And he went on to say, I guess maybe I'll be better off like my friend who they found in the woods with a bullet to their head. That broke my heart because I didn't know what to say. So I sat with it. And that's one of the teachings of Buddhism is I sat with it and I thought about it. And then finally I wrote back. He later on said it took 3 people to answer me on LinkedIn versus Facebook where 300 people. So I wrote back and I understand, Corinne, when you're talking about, I've done countless papers. In fact, I've just finished a paper on immersive a study on transgender, and I've done the paper on uh, nutrition and food scarcities and all that, and it's alarming. And that's why I want, I guess, to kind of open the door on my part to get something started. Um, right now, and we're coming to the closing. I have this question that I try to ask each of my guests. If you could talk to younger Corinne, if you could go back in time for 24 hours, what would you tell? Well, I know she wasn't a her then, but what would you tell if she was a her? What would you tell her about now? And we'll start with you, Corinne, and then we'll go to Lillian.
Um, well, I think it comes back to sort of this theme I think I've been dancing around this whole time, right? Is that um, authenticity makes us better, right? And it makes us better individuals. It makes us better neighbors. It makes us better family members and community members. And I think that what I would say to the younger me is I fully support you in your decision, whether it was to transition or not. I think that we need to recognize that the act of transition, the act of coming out, is an act of revolution. And revolutions are hard, and in revolutions, sometimes people get hurt. But unlike most other marginalized communities, if you're a person of color in this country, from almost the moment you're born that you are going to be treated differently than a white person. If you are an immigrant, you know that you're going to be treated differently, or that if you're born with a disability, you know that you're being treated differently. Um, Whereas an LGBTQ person, when they come out, they are leaving the confinement of the closet, but the closet is also a really safe space, right? And that when you come out and you say who you are and you do it publicly, you are leaving the safety and the confinement of the closet for opening yourself up to stigma and discrimination and family issues and having to negotiate all this stuff. But when you get through that initial period, you will become a better human being. And I know that in my case, I have become so much a better human being than I was, 30 years ago when I was tearing a white streak through corporate America and trying to act like the man that I wasn't. And so authenticity matters because it makes you a better person and it makes you a better community member.
Wow, thank you so much, Corinne. Lillian, same
Yeah,
question.
I agree a lot with what Corinne just said. Um, the one thing, if I could speak to myself as a child, as a teen, I mean, one of the things that um, did not exist at that time were the words to describe what I was. I had no idea. I mean, the word transgender, for all intents and purposes, never entered into the conversation, didn't exist. So I would like to explain to, and that led to a lot of problems that I had understanding who or what I was. So I think I would like to try to explain to a person, myself at that age, that I'm not a freak. I wasn't a freak. I wasn't uh, someone uh, who that was alone, that there were other people out there going through the same things that I was going through, but I didn't know who they were. And so I'd like to maybe tell myself that I need to keep that in mind, that there are other people out there, and that this too will pass, that sooner or later, in my case was later, I will come to understand who I was, who I am, actually, not was, but who I really am. And that that makes all the difference. because as I said earlier, up until I transitioned, I was a very angry person. I would get angry very rapidly, and it wasn't anything specifically. It was just the thought, I think, that I wasn't able to express myself the way I wanted to be able to. So as a younger person, I wish I would have had that ability to be myself, to be out there regardless of what I may face as a result of being out of the closet. But I wasn't able to do that. And I'm just happy that I was finally able to do that. So, as a younger person, I would try to explain that, you know, you have to believe in yourself. You have to accept yourself before anyone else can accept you. So that, I think, is the main point. Until you accept yourself, you're not going to get anywhere. And I had difficulty in accepting myself because I didn't know who myself was. So that's
Maybe I could just jump on that
Go
just
ahead.
a second too, is that I think it's really important to the young trans people that are, potentially listening to this pod, right? Is that um, you're going to move at the pace that is right for you. There are
Mhm.
no hard and fast rules that says that you have to do this or you have to do that. You have to be hyper femme or hyper masculine or, whatever it is, and that you have to do it by the time you're 18, right? Do it at the speed that works for you. Your number one job is to make sure that you are housed and you are fed and you are safe. And then, once you get those needs taken care of, then the other stuff can follow. And so don't feel like there are any have tos, right? Other than those basic needs.
Thank you so much. I always leave, Corinne, there's a lot of support systems and a lot of things, platforms that young trans people can reach out to. I know that behind you, you have, um, I can't even see it, Eastern Pennsylvania Trans Equality. Can you, and I'm going to actually add this towards the end, but can you tell us some of the resources right now, if someone is listening, where they can reach out to? That would be so great.
Yeah, so in Pennsylvania, certainly anybody can reach out to us. Our website is patransequity.org. If you're listening and you're from another state, we are connected with lots and lots of other organizations. But a great resource is Centerlink. So Centerlink is a national organization, umbrella organization. We're a member of Centerlink, as are most LGBTQ centers around the country. And you can go there and you can find the address, the phone number, the email, the website of a local LGBTQ center. Everybody's services are a little bit different. Ours are tailored specifically to the transgender and gender expansive community, but there are people out there that care about you and that want you to do more than survive, right? We want you to thrive. And there are resources out there for you. You just got to invest a little bit of time to find them. We're here and we care about you, and we want to help you just become the best human you can.
Wow. We the time always goes fast, especially when it's something when it's a topic that I really want to absorb as much as I can. And I'm sorry we have to cut it off, but I want to leave both of you ladies with this. Light is not fragile. It may flicker, but it does not disappear. And tonight we listened, we learned, I learned, I leaned into the truth, and finding the light is the one thing that keeps it lit. And your leadership in the community and in your courage at your work and your job and being retired, that's what it's going to take. And I want to commend you two. You have inspired me to dig a little bit deeper, and to find a little bit more information. And as we move forward, I want to tell everyone who's listening out there, be gentle with yourself, be gentle with each other. Remember, we always control the narrative, delete the stigma, and heal our mind. And I am your host, VL Henry, and this is Control, Delete, and Heal. And Lillian and Corinne, you have changed my life. Thank you for being here. And I hope when I come to Harrisburg, I can meet up with both of you and have a cup of coffee, because it would really be the creme to la creme to me. So thank you, and I appreciate you taking your time. I know you both are extremely busy, and I hope this isn't the last time. I hope we can get together again and maybe have a panel with some younger transgender people, because I think they really need to hear your voice, because you are a part of the legacy and history. So thank you both, and I appreciate you. I really do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity. And anytime you want to do something like this or anything, I'm more than willing to participate. I always try to hold myself out. So
thank you both, and I appreciate you. And I can't wait to tell my sister that I got to talk to you guys. Thank you so much. God bless you guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Finding Our Light and Keeping It Lit. Thanks to our special guest, Lillian Munch and Corinne Goodwin. We hope this conversation reminds you that authenticity, courage, and compassion can light the way forward. Thank you. Take care of each other and take care of yourself. With our host, VL Henry, and this is Control, Delete, and Heal.